My mom stared at the car I just bought with the money I had saved up over 3 long years. She smiled, softly at first, and said in a voice that sounded half-joking, "Hand over the keys. I'll keep this car for you." I laughed, but she didn't. She looked at me, dead serious, with eyes that felt colder than steel. "If you don't give me the car, I'll sue you." I grew up in a household of 2, just me and my mother. There was no father in the picture. As for relatives, sure, we had a few distant ones scattered across the country, but none of them were close. My mom rarely spoke about them. Maybe a phone call on holidays, maybe not. And I believed her. I honestly did. I thought she was the one person in the world who would always be in my corner. My mom was a workhorse. She worked 2 jobs most of the time, cleaning houses during the day and manning a register at a 24-hour convenience store at night. She barely slept, barely ate. We didn't spend much time together, but when we did, usually a late-night dinner over microwaved rice and eggs, she always reminded me, "I gave up everything for you. Don't forget that." I didn't forget. In fact, I remembered it so well that it became the weight I carried into every decision I made. If I wanted to pick a different school than the one she chose, if I wanted to get a haircut she didn't approve of, if I wanted to spend a little money on a game or a burger instead of saving it all, her voice would echo in my head. "Are you throwing away everything I've done for you?" She never hit me. She didn't have to. Her silence, her tears, and her disappointed sighs were more than enough. So I grew up in this strange duality of gratitude and guilt. By the time I turned 18, I didn't even consider going to college. I jumped straight into work, washing dishes, hauling furniture, mowing lawns, cleaning restrooms at gas stations. My mom said I was the man of the house, and that meant paying it back. And I did pay. Every week, I handed her most of my paycheck. But in secret, I stashed away a little bit. Not much. Just enough to build toward a dream I never dared say aloud. Buying a car. Not a sports car. Not anything flashy. Just something that could give me a taste of freedom. Freedom from being called at 3 a.m. because she couldn't find her eye drops. Freedom from asking for permission to go anywhere. Freedom from feeling like I was born into a contract I never signed. And when I finally got there, when I finally held the keys to my first car, I thought I had made it. I didn't know it was just the beginning of the ugliest battle I'd ever have with the person I once trusted most. At first, it seemed harmless. I took my mom grocery shopping in my new car. She was quiet the entire ride, only occasionally glancing at the dashboard, running her fingers over the leather-wrapped steering wheel. I thought maybe, just maybe, she was proud of me. But as I turned off the engine and pulled out the key, she said, "Leave the car. I'll drive it back." I laughed. I thought she was joking. "No, I'm serious," she said. "I'll keep the car. You're still living in my house, aren't you? It's safer if I keep it. Just give me the keys." I smiled nervously and tried to explain. This was the first car I ever bought with my own money. I worked for this. Every scratch on that paycheck was mine. But her eyes changed. Her expression hardened. "Who do you think you are?" she hissed. "That car has my money in it. If I hadn't raised you, fed you, clothed you, you'd be a nobody, sleeping in a gutter. Give me the damn keys." I refused. She went silent for the rest of the day. But from that moment, my mom began to change. She started telling our relatives that I was ungrateful, that I had betrayed her sacrifices, and that I had bought a car behind her back without even consulting her. One evening, I came home from work to find my uncle sitting in our living room, arms crossed, brows furrowed. "You bought a car and didn't even give your mother a cent?" I didn't know what to say. My mother just stood there, arms folded, a faint smile on her lips, like she was enjoying the spectacle, like she was the victim, like I had done something wrong. I started locking my bedroom door. I hid the car keys, but my mom found new ways to exert control. She'd text me at 1 a.m. asking, "Where's the car?" She'd knock on my door every morning, pretending to check in on me, but really just trying to figure out if I had taken the car out. And then, one afternoon, I saw her standing in the parking lot next to my car, fiddling with what looked like a spare key. She had made a copy. I froze. I felt my heart break in real time. It was like watching a stranger try to rob me. Only the stranger was the woman who once held me during my fevers, sang me lullabies, and told me monsters weren't real. I decided to move out. I found a small place, barely a studio, but it was mine. I didn't tell her. I didn't want a scene. But that very night, I received an email. Your mother has filed a claim. See you in court. I stared at the screen for a full minute, blinking. It wasn't a prank. It wasn't a joke. My mom had sued me for unlawful possession of family property. I couldn't believe it when I got the court summons. The content of the lawsuit? Unlawful possession of shared family property. My mom had listed the car I bought with 3 years' worth of paychecks as a joint family asset. She even attached photos of herself posing next to the car and screenshots of old texts I sent. Hey mom, I'll drive you to the store today. That was her evidence. Panicked. I didn't have a lawyer. I didn't have anyone on my side. But I did have one thing, the truth. I stayed up for 2 nights straight gathering everything I had. The bill of sale with my name on it. Bank statements showing every paycheck that went into the down payment. Screenshots of messages to friends where I talked about saving up for the car. I walked into the legal clinic at the local university and told them everything. They were stunned, and they agreed to represent me pro bono. On the day of the hearing, my mom showed up in a neatly pressed blouse, hair tied back like some kind of model parent. She spoke to the judge with a trembling voice, full of emotion. I just wanted to hold the car for my son's safety. I was worried bad people would take advantage of him. I'm his mother. I have the right to care for him. I almost believed her. Almost. If I weren't the one she was trying to sue. My attorney stood up and calmly walked the judge through every document. Piece by piece. Message by message. The courtroom was silent. Finally, the judge looked at my mom and asked, "Do you have any evidence that you contributed financially to this car?" She said nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that silence? It hit me harder than any of her words ever did. The entire hearing lasted under 45 minutes. The judge ruled that the case was without merit and potentially abusive in nature. I had won, but I didn't feel victorious. I felt drained, hollow, like I had just spent weeks proving I wasn't a thief to the very person who gave me life. I moved out the week after the hearing.
No goodbyes. No explanations. No tears.
I left a single piece of paper on the kitchen counter that read, "I don't have the strength to be your son anymore." I moved in with 2 old friends, into a cramped, dusty apartment with bad plumbing and peeling paint. But it was warm and quiet, and it was the first time in my life I didn't hear a knock on my door every morning. Didn't have to hide my car keys like contraband. Sometimes, I'd sit inside the car for half an hour before driving off, just to remind myself, it's mine. I cut all contact with my mom, blocked her number, blocked her emails, even blocked her on Facebook. Part of me was afraid she'd try something again. Another part was afraid I'd give in. 2 months later, she mailed a letter to my workplace. Just a single page. No envelope fancy enough to hide the guilt inside.
I'm sorry.
I was just afraid of losing you. If you get a new car someday, can I have the old one? I read it once, then again. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just felt cold. I didn't write back. But I didn't throw the letter away either. I placed it inside a box, alongside childhood photos, my birth certificate, and an old silver gray teddy bear she gave me when I turned 7. I wasn't sure if I was forgiving or just holding on. Life went on. I still worked long shifts, still made payments, still fixed the car when it broke down. But sometimes, just sometimes, when I heard a middle-aged woman yelling at her child in public,
"Ide Flynn."
And in those quiet, guilty moments, I'd wish I had a different mother. Someone who didn't sue her son over a car. Someone who understood that love doesn't come with strings. I didn't suddenly become strong after the court ruling. I still flinched when someone shouted, "Mom!" in public. Still choked up when I saw happy families on TV. But slowly, bit by bit, I started learning how to be an adult on my own terms. I learned to live without asking for permission. I learned to say no without feeling like I was betraying someone. I learned to draw boundaries, to say the word no, a word I had never been allowed to use with my mother for 27 years. I started therapy, 1 session per week. At first, I didn't believe in it. I thought, I'm not crazy. But by the 3rd session, I realized, you don't have to be crazy to be in pain. I was hurting because I grew up with love that came with conditions. I was hurting because every time I wanted to live for myself, I was labeled ungrateful. And I was hurting because I believed I deserved it. I told my therapist everything. About my mom, about the court, about the silver gray teddy bear I still kept in a box. She didn't tell me to forgive. She didn't push me to reconcile. She just said, "You're not a bad person for not wanting to be the child of someone who hurt you." And I cried hard. After that, I started journaling. Page after page, I wrote every memory I could recall. Not to blame, but to understand. And somewhere along the way, I began to see my mother as a child, too. A woman who had been abandoned, who had never been loved properly, who never learned how to love. I didn't excuse what she did, but I realized I didn't have to carry the cycle forward. I signed up for a night class, not for any specific reason, just because I wanted to try something new. For the first time in years, I laughed freely over dinner with friends. I wasn't afraid of my phone ringing. I no longer dreamed of courtrooms and lawsuits. One day, I was pumping gas and saw a mother and son in a car nearby, playfully arguing over the AC settings. They both laughed. No one won. I watched them for a moment, and for the first time, I didn't feel envy. I smiled, because I knew I was learning how to become the person I always wished had been there for me. These days, whenever I look into the rearview mirror, I don't just see the road behind me. I see the scared little boy I once was. The young man who believed he was worthless unless he paid his mother back. And I smile, not because everything is perfect, but because I'm still moving, 1 mile at a time. And this time, I'm holding the wheel. I don't blame my mother anymore. I don't love her the same way, but I don't hate her either. I just accept that some relationships are like old cars. They no longer run, but they were once part of the journey. If you grew up with a mother or a father who didn't know how to love you the right way, if you've ever felt like a bad child, simply for wanting to live your own life, I want to tell you one thing: you're not wrong, and you deserve to be free. Sometimes the most heartbreaking thing isn't being hurt by a stranger. It's learning how to live without the love of someone who was supposed to love you unconditionally. But if I made it through, so can you. If you've ever been through something like this, tell me your story. I'm here, and I'll read every word. And hey, if you want to hear more stories like this, real ones, raw ones, and sometimes quietly beautiful ones, hit subscribe. We've got a lot more to talk about.